What's up, everybody? It's Friday, June 19th, 2026, and I want to take some time to go over my 24 YEP $150 budget build. I like this rig because it's a good balance between performance and scale. I'll kind of go over the rules and went over what I did. Um, but for anyone who's not familiar, some of the rules were, I think this might have been all the rules, but 64 millimeter max tire size. So we did that with the Proline Trepidors. It's supposed to be like a Maxxis licensed official wheel. Body required. Oh, sorry, 155 millimeter wheelbase max. That's the Gladiator wheelbase. That's what we did. We actually had to buy stock links to be able to pull that off. We wanted to use stock links, keep it nice and light. Body required. Obviously, you can see we got a body. It's also a chassis, which I thought was a efficient move there. You can only have 3D printed parts. So I have the body, the skid plate underneath, and the driver inside. So I feel like that has the scale look of it. I like that a lot. All the stock parts are free. So I like stock rear axle, stock links. I'll go over that again. Stock shocks. Free RX. I'm using a FlySky GT5, so I'm just using one of those nano 4-channel receivers, and then a free battery. I'm using this Gens Ace 2S 400 milliamp hour battery. That stuff's in the passenger side area. I'll go over. But like for the breakdown, essentially over here on the right, we got, starting with the Endura, I got the brushless combo. So it comes with the 1721 purple Viper brushless motor and their G2 ESC. That's $60 on Amazon. Then I went with the Proline Maxxis Trepidors. I think you can get those on Amazon or your local retailer for 25 bucks. PTK Servo, pick those up from 24yep.com for 23 bucks. You can also, I think, find them cheaper in some areas, but happy to support. And then for the 52-degree steering angle, I ended up going with the Mias Nylon Isokinetic plus 5mm extension axles. So those are $40 if you order them directly from Mias, just for the front axle. And then to get the same width in the rear, I did +5 hex hub extension. They're like these little adapters, $2 and some change from AliExpress. So that's how I kept it to $150. Assuming you already have, a stock truck, and you could transfer these parts, you wouldn't have to spend any more. But for building this truck out, I actually had to buy the stock shocks, stock rear axle, and stock links as well, just to make this work. So getting into it, we got a pretty slinked out look, and the way we were able to do that was with a little bit of trickery in the suspension. So if you can see here, these little, they're kind of like backwards C's. And what it allows the wheel to do is, let me get a closer look here. So when the truck is flexing, essentially it's going to allow it to raise even higher. And same thing on the opposite side. And I'm also using these elastic bands, kind of like you'd make little bracelets out of. I just, had some extra material laying down. And this is actually what I prefer instead of springs. So they actually kind of prevent these from going backwards when it's climbing. The reason I like having some kind of bands or something to suck it down, because it's actually, like when the truck is, let's say, flexing like this, you want to put pressure on that front tire so that you're able to cling onto the rock and pull yourself up. And if there's, this band is actually pulling down and pushing pressure on that front tire. So if you just keep it loose in the rear, more of your weight's going to be in the front right than you want. So that's why I have that back and forth to get essentially the most amount of flex from stock suspension. And then I kind of did something similar on the front here. So I used some extra servo horns. I don't know if you can see exactly. But on the normal shock mount, I have the servo horn pivoting, and this is how I kind of limit it in the up travel. On this side, I'm still experimenting if I like limits or no limits. There's no limits on passenger. Essentially, though, you're going to get a little bit extra extension um, out of either side. It doesn't really interfere too much with the steering angle, but it's a cheap way to essentially make these sort of 58 millimeter length, a little bit longer, something like a long travel SCX 24 suspension. So, for those of you who are wondering where this chassis and body is from, this is actually from Millie WTF. He's got a website where you can download the files. You can also find them on Instagram. So, it's like a buggy chassis that has a skid that's custom for this build with its own rear upper links as well as front upper links. So, that's kind of a close up of what it looks like on the bottom. Obviously, we're using the stock links, not nothing fancy here. We're also using the stock drive shaft. I don't know if you can see this, but I had to extend a little piece just to get it to reach, just because where the transmission is makes it a little bit longer, and where the links line up, it makes it a little bit, the rear axle is a little bit further away than stock. So essentially I just like used some shipping tape and I cut another extra piece of drive shaft I had, the plastic one, and extended it. So these seem to be holding up fine on some of my heavier trucks with all metal axles and all metal links and everything. Stock drive shafts just like pop out all the time, but on a really lightweight truck like this, and I took some measurements of the weight balance, so I'll post those here just so you guys can see kind of what the weight distribution is. We got it pretty balanced left and right, and we still got it just enough of a front weight bias. And how we do that is with the brass knuckles that come with the Mias isokinetic axles. So you have lightweight nylon axle, a little bit of brass on the outside that gets the weight nice and wide, so you have some stability and gets you a little bit more front weight bias. So that's another reason to stick with like a nylon or plastic rear end, so you can keep that rear weight out of the rear end. We got the for sale sign, obviously for cosmetics. This body normally has 3D printed side panels, but because of our 3-part limit, we had to go with whatever this clear stuff is. You can use it for like scale windshields and stuff, just to kind of keep the dirt out. And how I had everything mounted, so you can see that this Endura Pit Viper fits pretty nicely inside. It's meant for this chassis. It's a good combo. And then I have, can't really see too much inside, but the ESC is mounted on just a piece of plastic that goes across the top of the rear upper link mounts. So that way that, maybe you can see here. There's a piece of plastic holding that brushless ESC up, and essentially to access the power button, I have a little screw between the power button and this sheet of plastic, kind of like the cover, and you push down on his right arm to power it on. Our light went off. That was weird. And then you can see the rest of the wiring. We got the receiver on this side. So one thing you can do if you're getting your own receiver, like the 4-channel FlySky receiver, just, there goes my light again. Just solder on 2 of the pins for steering and ESC, and that little extra space that you get from not soldering on the other 3rd and 4th channel just helps you with wiring, because these buggies are super tricky to tuck all the wiring in here. You can see like there's really no extra room on the outside. So essentially for putting the motor on this guy, or putting the battery in, I like to have it connected first. So we'll kind of fish those wires underneath here. And this battery is gonna go on the side. So you can take the balance lead and shove it underneath as best you want. Essentially, the battery is going to be pretty secure, nice and low on the passenger side. All right, so essentially to power this on, push down on his arm, and I'll boot up. Just Fly Sky GT5. So you get a lot more steering angle than stock. And then you're going to get some pretty low control speed. Oh, reversed. So you got a lot of control with the brushless. Enough speed to get around the course. I actually competed with the same chassis and buggy at this year's Massive Micro at Marty's Hobbies in Southern California, and took first place with this chassis, this buggy chassis. So would definitely recommend if you're looking for something that like is scale but also can perform. Not sure what else I need to go over. I haven't already. Nothing really fancy here. I did trim the front of the cage so you could get the most droop. Yeah, it's a lightweight truck. Balance on its side, which I guess some people consider to be like a pretty important test. And then for flex, we can put some tires under, kind of show how much flex we got. So that's 2, 3 tires, 4. Seems to be a little too much, but definitely a solid 3 tires. 4, it starts to lift. Same on the right side. So I mean, any more flex and your truck's going to get all twisted up in the rock. I would say that this is about as much as you'd ever need. And then for these elastic bands in the rear, you can actually kind of spin them around and tighten them up if you need to change the elastics on them, change the tension. That's it. Hopefully you guys got something out of this. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks.